Some women are simply born rich, confident, and naturally magnetic to their desires. Let's be clear, this podcast is not for them. However, if you're a soul-driven, visionary, or entrepreneurial woman who's been on a mission to learn how to create a better future bursting to come out of you, welcome to my world. I'm Jo Warwick, and this is Rich, Sexy, and Free. I've dedicated most of my career to helping women get to their core power and unlock the missing pieces for their own unique success. You may already know me as the author of the Big Book of Love. With 30 years experience in psychology, embodiment, manifesting, and energetics, we will be exploring together the keys to becoming rich, sexy, and free. So if this excites you, don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite platform so you can stay up to date with the podcast. Welcome to today's episode of Rich, Sexy and Free. And I'm Jo Warwick, and I'm so pleased you're joining me for today's intimate session as we're going to be deep diving into everything from menopause to human design to covering what's happened in the last 4 months and the essence of as my self-value rises, life rises to meet me, the theme of today. So I'm going to be sharing some stories and the results in my own life as we follow this theme, that as my self-value rises, life rises to meet me, and also things that I wasn't doing. So yeah, I thought we'd cover this. And the reason I'm also adding in there about the menopause, because I ended up commenting to somebody today about my own, what I call my own hot journey, my own menopause journey. I'm realizing how big a part it was as I moved through the menopause of how it transformed my self-value. And I think that as listeners out there, there'll be women who are on that journey from perimenopause to postmenopause and through. So I think it's really important to share that. So welcome. I'm so pleased to be joining with you today. So we completed Loved on Monday, ended up doing a bonus. So it went on last week and on Monday, and it was so transformative. And so it was off the back of that, which came off the back of Reset. And they have both been quite integral parts of my own upgrades that have been going on. Of course, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you will know that my dog died at the end of last year. Now, if you're new to my world, don't worry, it's okay. But it was a big transformative experience for me because Faith, bless her, was in my life for 15 years, just under. And she was my biggest teacher around unconditional love. And there's an entire episode about her. And when she passed, I went to Lisbon, and I shared a post actually from Lisbon where I had a big aha that I had not been living my life in rich, sexy and free. And a few months on, I can see what's changed. Faith had taught me over those years, and through my experience with the menopause, I was dealing with healing and aligning my own self-value on the inside. Just like my house, I was very, very good at having unbelievably strong boundaries about allowing what and who and the energy that comes into my home. And I wasn't allowing life to flow externally. And the last 4 months have been about stepping out in a big way and remembering who I am. Because there's one thing about teaching, I am not just a teacher. I am someone who, I'm what's called a role model teacher through human design, but I'm very much somebody who lives it and teaches what I learn. I'm very authentic in that way. It's who I am in my design. My books are about that. The Big Book of Love was based on 40 years of experience. Life More Traveled is based on my travels around the world and what that taught me about shifting from fear to adventure. So if you follow me on social media, you will see my posts around saying yes and leaning in. And it's been about flowing out into the world. It's not been about the ebb. And there are 2 phases. And I think that's really important to talk about. Everything in your life transforms when you transform your self-value. But what I have learned as I have dived into human design, it's given me a language and a more understandable language to what I was already expressing and understanding around circuitry and energy and the frequency and how that impacts you. And inside Loved, we dive into understanding more about your unique factory settings, not just yours, but mine and yours and all of us. We have a unique factory settings. And when we know this, we can come to a whole new level of self-love, self-value, and self-worth. And when we know this, when we accept this, we can then recalibrate every aspect of our lives to match that innate, aligned, sacred truth we know on the inside of our value. Faith had taught me about unconditional love, not just about understanding on a head level. I am a projector, which means I understand or know things, cosmic things, divine things, sacred things. I know bigger picture stuff that other people don't know or can't see. I knew that, but I wasn't living it. And through that journey, and I've blogged about it, and I've written about it, and I've shared about it, and you'll find posts about it on Tiny Buddha and things like that. Through that process of just before faith and then going through faith, faith taught me to understand what I knew in my soul, but what I wasn't living. Unconditional love for myself, and what that actually looks like, what that feels like, what that's like showing up every day, and falling in love with my own body, my own mind, my own energy, but also my value. Because there's one thing about unconditional love. It's not just soft. It's also fierce. And it's also fucking powerful. And it makes you a warrior. And it makes you passionate. And it makes you tapped in and turned on to your life as you activate it more and more as something you live, not just something you be. And that was a learning I had to have. It wasn't just being in this receptive mode, the feminine mode of loving myself and being gentle and being kind. There's also the masculine side of self-love, which is about stepping out and stepping forward and embracing and grabbing life from a place of, I'm fucking amazing. And I would say that the biggest shift that has happened for me in the last 4 months is that even today, writing posts on social media is that I am my biggest fucking cheerleader. And that wasn't there before. And I realized this morning when I went to the pool, I've been posting like, this is my office space. And today I was at the Lido. And there were teenage kids there, the students from the university. And I noticed I could feel their energy. And it gave me a massive insight into how, when I was younger and before my menopause, how I was battered around by other people's emotions. Because of my nature as a projector, but because I hadn't locked into my body and the way that I was being, I was still battered around by it, absorbing it as though it was mine. And for a moment, I experienced that sensation. One of the most wonderful things about cold water swimming is you get very used to being naked and naked with other people. And I'm so confident in that now. I didn't even think about it. I was in the shower, I was naked. It's a communal shower, just women. And this girl came in and she was fine about it. But for a moment, I could feel her energy about how she wasn't confident in her own body. And for a moment, my mind wanted to go, oh, well, you haven't got that anymore. And I was like, that's not even my energy. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, thank you. We could give that back. It was such a gift. It showed me that the knowing on the inside is I am who I am and my body is amazing and I am amazing. Not because of the way that I look, not because of the way that I'm judged by anybody else, not because anybody else's opinion about my size and my height and my color and whatever. Because I know I'm fucking amazing. And I used to know this. I used to know this so deeply. At times in my life and at other times totally not. There were phases in my life when I was proving it. I got better and better over the time that I had faith that I would feel into what it felt like to walk like somebody who knew her value, to breathe like somebody who knew her value, to stretch like somebody who knew her value. It was the way I was embodying that value. And then, as I said, in the last 4 months, it's been about taking it out to market, taking it out into the world, being me, testing my capacity to be me, loving me, no matter what is going on in my life, no matter what energy anybody else has got. As I'm saying this, I'm getting very hot. And that has been the test, that actually when it comes from my truth and it comes from my own power center, which is the bit I want to get onto, in human design, it's like we learn about your own power center. And I've always known you had these power centers, but learning that you have a unique power center, a individual power center that is your truth. When you tap into it from there, you never, ever wobble. And that's the biggest shift. That your value becomes locked into your divine power center that is your truth. I remember when I stood in front of an audience that was in overflow, giving me a standing ovation. There wasn't enough room in the room for the people who were hanging in through the door trying to hear me speak. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. I was tapped in, turned on, fired up, talking about my thing. I had been invited. It was so frigging aligned. And I was like, yes, this is my space. I knew it. I knew it. And then I had to go off on the journey and learn it. Go off and learn it. We all have these moments in our lives, but what I've come to realize is this power center is what gives us the truth. And that is the key element to understanding your coding that helps you step into your value and then transforms your money, your business, your life, everything that shows up. Everything that shows up. And that has been what I've been testing and playing with in the last 4 months, building on everything that faith taught me and building on everything that I learned through the menopause. So let's wind back for a second. So I actually I'm 49 now. I started the menopause journey when I was about 41. I was very young. I was way ahead of any of the women I knew. And actually that was a gift. My mum never went through the menopause because she had cancer. So she was on drugs that stopped that. And then she went on to HRT. So she never had the menopause. And so I was in a kind of new space, except for the fact that I knew from social conditioning and online messages about the menopause that you're going to dry up and shrivel up and it's the end of the world and you're pointless and all that shite. But by the time I had entered and started entering the menopause, I already had a heap of tools behind me. I already knew about the power of shifting my mindset, or I already knew about the power of deciding what I wanted. And I felt innately to my core that I was going to choose something different. So coming back into the power of energy, I was like, right, I get to decide how my approach is going to be. And the universe aligned that for me. It sent me things that helped me move through it as an opportunity to fall deeply, madly, and utterly in love with my own body. It was the area, the subject matter that I had mostly fought about. I knew how to be fit and strong. I knew how to recover and heal, but I didn't know how I kept making myself sick because I was in an argument. I was in a conflict. I was in a fight. And the menopause was a gift. It was a gift where I shifted from understanding that it wasn't a state of disempowerment, but a shift into my sovereignty, into my queenship, into my ownership, into my deep love affair and self-worship, self-value, reckoning of who I am and recognizing that my body knows best, my power knows best. And I learned incredible tools through it. And I was able to state in this comment today, this tool, this is what I learned. But the essence of the tools was always about my self-love and self-value. Recognizing that your body changes, it evolves, it's a gift. Now, for me, one of the biggest shifts of deciding and accepting that I get to create my reality and I get to have this aligned with my divine state and I get to live in my full overflow is a story about orcas, who are one of the few other mammals on the planet who go through the menopause. They are also a matriarchal society, and as a matriarchal society, the queen is only allowed to come into being the queen once she's gone through the menopause, once she has stepped into her state of matriarchy. And that was like, fuck yes. Fuck yes. It resonated to my core that I have entered my state of queendom. I have entered my matriarchy. I have entered my leadership, my sovereignty. That was the journey of the menopause. And unlike my experience with my periods, that had always been a fight. It had been a struggle. It had been painful. It had been sore. But the liberation of going, ugh, right, I can have the life that I want. I can create in my power. I never wanted children, so that wasn't the thing. I had a doggy. I had dogs. Faith was my fur baby, as they say. And so this opportunity, then letting go of Faith and her passing, she's still here in spirit, we don't worry about that. But in that grieving process and accepting, I've also been able to thank her because she gave her time. I've healed, I've done my thing. And just like the menopause, I'm now way out the other side, 3 years on. And Faithy has passed, and it's like, right, motherhood is done. I now get to be fully in my state of leadership. I thought I had done my motherhood stage when I was being a therapist. And I was, whilst I was also doing faith. But this elevation of going, right, the shift that happens when you step into your full empowerment, that you're not giving yourself away, because it's not your fault. Estrogen is designed for you to give yourself to everything and everyone and make everything better. But that's not a leader. So if this is speaking to you, it's about this shift now of going, no, I've done my time. You might still be a mother, of course, but you're not in breastfeeding stage. You're not in that early stages. It's about, I can step more and more into my leadership as the matriarchal, as the self-value, as the queen of your life, your environment. Might be in your business, might be as an executive, might be within your family. But that area of going, I step into my innate truth. And that has been liberating for me. And what I've seen from that has been exactly as I said at the beginning, the statement of, as my self-value rises, life rises to meet me. And everything that has come into my world in that time, everything from men and the connections with men have been on an absolutely radical different level. Worshipping, respect, adoration, gentleness, kindness, everything that I've always believed and known and expected, because I'm embodying it and saying I won't accept anything less. The other side, within money, massive transformations of money coming in with ease and grace in ways that I had never expected because of the embodiment. Yeah? Because of my energy is enough. My value is enough. I am enough. Yes? Everything in relationships, I've also let go and allowed it to be that those who meet me, whether that's in my business or whether they meet me in my personal life, that I only give my energy to those who meet me or invite me. Because that is a key part of my strategy as a projector, as human design. That I must be in a high quality relationship. And that set me free because it meant that I no longer have to keep feeling unseen, unheard, unvalidated by people who physically don't have the capacity to see me or honor me or recognize me, who don't match the frequency that I own now. And that was down to me, because that's been one of the areas I hadn't realized I was still doing. I knew my value in my house. Like my home. I knew my value with my closest friends. I knew my value with the divine. I knew my value in my body. But going out into the world and recognizing that I was still allowing people into my life and begging for attention. And I was still behaving in a way that was like, oh, I should be so grateful that you give me crumbs. And energetically recognizing that on a next level, that I have to step up. And that's what's changed in the last 4 months. Both by meeting people all over the world, because I've been traveling to places where I've been meeting people of all ages from loads of different countries, staying in environments and shifting my environment to match me, my frequency to match me. It's been like I've been on a masterclass for the last 4 months and will continue to do so. At this moment in time, I am currently residing in my property, but I will be on the move again. I'm testing my own capacity at the moment of environments and numbers of people, like intensity of people and those sort of things. And it comes to this reaffirming of what I know and have always known, but I wasn't fully living it. And I wasn't standing in it to the level and the capacity and that was available for my clients, but wasn't available for me. And by not standing in myself, I was also devaluing my clients, because I was devaluing myself, I was devaluing my pricing, instead of standing in the essence and the power and the diamond level of my energy, my frequency, my knowledge, my insights, my wisdom, my fucking experience. Because my job within my factory settings, within my divine code, within my human design, however we call it, is I'm here to teach you how to do the same. I'm here to show others how to do it on a big fat level. And as the world is shifting, particularly around the shift of the masculine and feminine, we can feel that the feminine is rising. She's been rising. I've been part of that journey. But now it really isn't just about rising, it's about sovereignty. And that's what we're about at Rich, Sexy and Free. It's locking in now this state of sovereignty and ownership, but in every single aspect of your life. Getting what you want from a state of queendom, because we're no longer needing to play out these ideas of the princess and the self-sacrifice and all that crap. It's like, I've gone beyond that. Let's come to the state of living like we are the matriarch. Not a badass bitch, dried up old crone kind of matriarch, but a matriarch who's coming from her true power, who's coming from her love within, who's coming from the divine, who's coming from compassion. But it starts with her and she shares it out into the world. And it's that gets matched by love, by money, by your business, by work, because every single thing that you are wanting comes from a relationship. Relationship meaning it is a relation, as in it's relating to you and your frequency. That's it. Sound exciting? I'm really fucking excited. The steps of doing what I've been through is what I'm going to be showing you to turn it up now, because enough's enough. And I've downloaded really exciting things that are going to be happening later in the year, which relates to the traveling and juicy playing. But the place that I'm inviting you to now, inside the Feminine Wealth Code, boom, can you feel that? Is that I'm inviting you into my home. I'm inviting you into the knowledge and the space and the frequency. More than just this beautiful podcast. More than just one of my micro programs. More than just being on my world on social media. More than even if you were just working with me one-to-one, which is powerful and amazing. But I truly do believe in the power of collective and women rising together, nurturing together, celebrating together, and locking in their sacred code together, working with the divine together. The Feminine Wealth Code is based on your code, your DNA, your factory settings, so that you can fully put down the fight, fully put down the need to keep trying to prove your self-value, but more than that, own your self-worth, own your sovereignty, own your crown in a different way. It's more than probably the words that I can even say, but the frequency that you felt from today, it's diamond, it's pure, it's locked in, it's in your body, and you're showing up in every aspect of your life as the leader, as the woman who leads. And that's really fucking exciting. And I'm excited by this being a home, a space where you can come to and recalibrate and connect to over and over again with yourself, with, of course, audio weekly trainings. You can tap into the frequency, journal prompts, insights, things like that to help you. Of course, those techniques and tools that Rich, Sexy and Free has been developing and growing for the last 25 plus years, everything that is Rich, Sexy and Free. But most importantly, it's being in the container, it's being in the space, it's being with others, it's being in a frequency that does the work, because it's about the energy and the alignment of you to your power center, to you and your inner knowing, to you and your clarity, to you and your fire, to you and your absolute divine state of I am. I am. Yes, sacred. And what you have to offer in this world is sacred. Now, let's be clear, this isn't for everybody. This is not for everybody. And this isn't for the woman who wants to keep proving. And it isn't for the woman who wants to keep struggling and striving. And it isn't for the woman who wants to keep being heavily in her masculine. And it isn't for the woman who wants to be heavily in her feminine and just in her receptive. It isn't for the woman who wants to hold on to a victim badge. And it isn't for the woman who still wants to give herself away to everybody. It isn't for the woman who doesn't want to do the work and the shift and the insight. Because it's not work, it's play. This is going to be an environment for playing, because playing, I can tell you as a psychotherapist, is the greatest, fastest, easiest, and best way that you can heal. As someone who was a child, family, adult, teenager, psychotherapist, and an expert in transformation with everybody, male and female, play is how we transform, because it allows us to raise our frequency, to use our subconscious, and use our power all at the same time, unlike anything else. When we do it in bit parts, just your head, just your body, you don't get the same effect. It takes a slow path. And the feminine wealth code is not for the woman who wants a slow path. The essence of this is like slipping yourself into a Ferrari, knowing that driving your power, your life, creating, unfolding, manifesting, working with the divine is like driving a brand new bright red Ferrari. It's for the woman who loves to be in charge and drive and enjoy the journey as much as the destination, to feel the power, to feel the luxuriousness of it, to enjoy the spaciousness of it, to experience the wonder of it, because that's what this is about. It's about stepping into a Ferrari experience of your life and not doing it anybody else's way. Not thinking that experience is about that, oh, when I get to my 5-star hotel, or when I get my Gucci bag, or when I get my luxurious house, or when those things are fun. They're fun. Of course they are. But it's also more fun having the capacity to do it all, to be the person who wants, if they want to, like me, camp, do hostels, 5-star hotels, to do chateaus, to eat at Michelin star restaurants, to eat at an amazing food trucks, to travel the world, to get on a plane when you want, to decide if you want to go skiing next week. It's that kind of lifestyle, because you get to pick and choose, and you get to decide, and you get to have it now, and you get to experience it now, and you get to enjoy the unfolding now, just as I was speaking about with my client last night. The thing that turns her on, taps her on, lights her up, she gets to have now instead of waiting. So if you're one who wants to wait, go ahead. Go ahead. And I send you much love. If you're a woman who wants to grab this, can feel this calling to your soul, head on over to richsexyandfree.com. There is literally a link there that you can join for 3 months or a year. If you want to reach out and you want to talk to me about VIP options, just head over to Rich, Sexy and Free on Instagram or Facebook. If you want to take the first step and you just want to put your feet in the water first and experience a bit more of what it's like to work with me, then head on over to richsexyandfree.com and go grab the Radical Self-Value Reset 14-day challenge. Or you can buy Rise and Shine. It's a 30-day program. There are options, and it all comes down to where you are in your journey, the calling of your soul, where this resonates, if you feel activated as fuck by my my episode today. But this is where we're going with Rich, Sexy and Free. And I'm so excited for you as the woman who maybe didn't get, when you were younger, the home that gave you the opportunity to really feel safe enough to play with your own energy, to play with the capacity of your own mind and your choices and your power, and knowing your self-value to the core. I'm inviting you into my home to do exactly that on a whole new fucking level, so that you can put down the idea of healing and fixing and resolving, and instead just claim who you were born to be now, and start having a space of, yes, mentoring and all of that. But it's about stepping into a life that you want. So that might be that you want to take your business to 7 figures, or multiple 7 figures, or 8 figures. I've helped clients do that. If you want to have experiences of having a love affair that transforms in a great sex life, and you want to take it to the next one, and you want to fall in love, this is the space for you. I've worked with people all over the world having that. If you want to live a completely free life, where you get to travel and you be a digital nomad, I'm doing that. Come and join me. So whatever it is for you, it doesn't matter. If you want the money to flow, you're in the right space. But it's about the way that you're doing it. So remember the Ferrari. It's not about driving a clapped out old vehicle. It's not about pushing the car along. It might not be a Ferrari for you. It might be a souped up SUV, and it might be a brand new Mercedes 4x4. This comes from when I turned 40, I drove a Ferrari around Silverstone. I knew to my core as I slipped into this Ferrari. The first time I had driven one, I had borrowed it from a guy at a party and I drove it very fast down the A30 or something like that. But this time I drove this Ferrari. I slipped in. I was in the right vehicle, in the right space. I got an A+ for my driving. And I drove 180 miles an hour on the straights. And I drove 80 miles plus on the hairpin bends. And I felt sexy as fuck. I felt alive. I felt in the right space. I felt like a fucking goddess. I knew I could drive. I've always known I could drive. And I drive well. It was validated by my driving instructor, who just told me to keep putting your foot down. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. And that is what the Feminine Wealth Code is about. Being in your right vehicle, your right coding, your right life, your right frequency. And then just putting your foot down and enjoying the ride. So I'm sending you much love, and I will see you next week on Rich, Sexy and Free. It's been great to connect with you today. But before you leave, if you haven't already, don't forget to come and be part of the Wealthier Woman community. And if you want to find out more about how I can help you personally, or check out any of my books, products, or coaching packages, just simply go ahead and visit richsexyandfree.com. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the podcast.